No one can forget these images. Throughout 1988, Saddam Hussein slaughtered Iraq's Kurds with bombs, with bullets, and with gas. The Reagan White House saw it as a ruthless attempt to put down a rebellion. But Peter Galbraith, who worked for the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, believed that it was something worse.
The light went off in my head. I said, Saddam Hussein is committing genocide.
With the support of his boss, Democratic Senator Claiborne Pell of Rhode Island, Galbraith drafted a bill. It would force the United States to sever its economic ties with Iraq. The Prevention of Genocide Act. The name is pretty in your face. What made you choose that particular name?
It was genocide, and I thought with a name like that, it would garner a lot of support.
But the compelling name was not enough. So Galbraith went back to the region to gather more evidence. 65,000 Kurds had fled to Turkey. Survivors described blinding, burning clouds of poison gas that dropped people in their tracks.
These people don't make up these stories. These are real stories. And if you talk to them, if you simply talk to them, as you have, Christiane, you know that they're telling the truth.
Galbraith's report was still not enough to convince the White House to punish Saddam Hussein. Even though Secretary of State Shultz warned Iraq's foreign minister that their budding relationship was in jeopardy, the Reagan administration opposed Galbraith's sanctions bill, claiming that it used inaccurate terms like genocide.
I think most of us at that time saw genocide as something that had happened in the Holocaust, the effort to wipe out an entire people.
To Galbraith, there was no time for semantics.
Should we have waited until he used chemical weapons again? Should we have waited until instead of 5% of the Kurdish population was murdered, 10, 15?
U.S. corporations that saw Iraq as a burgeoning market wanted it open for business, especially the farm industry, selling Iraq more than $1 billion a year in crops.
I had a fellow who worked for one of the Louisiana senators call me up really in tears, and when I talked about genocide against the Kurds, he talked about the genocide that I was committing against the rice farmers of Louisiana.
In the end, the House of Representatives killed Galbraith's sanctions bill with backing from the Reagan administration. Politics had trumped principle.
When there is a crisis, a moral crisis, human rights should become the #1 preoccupation of the American administration.
And if Americans say, why us? Why is that fair?
Because what is the situation? If we don't, then the whole world will say, if America doesn't, why should we?
What are you asking the United States do in such a situation? Pose, posture, and feel good by applying sanctions that will have no impact? Is that what's on request?
Well, you know, it's a question. Is there a place for just out-and-out pure morality when it comes to foreign policy? Just do the right thing, whether it makes a difference or not.
Not disconnected from the realities on the ground.
Galbraith calls the U.S. policy appeasement.
We were not able to modify Iraq's behavior, and guess what?
2 years later, in August 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait, its oil-rich neighbor to the south. This time, the U.S. vilified Saddam Hussein.
We're dealing with Hitler revisited.
And this time, with Kuwait's oil at stake, the United States finally screamed bloody murder.
This must not stand.
When we come back, genocide in prime time, the relentless destruction and murder in Sarajevo, and a man who tried to stop it. Why did you make these trips that involved faking IDs, sneaking in? What motivated you so much?